What's up, guys? It's your boy One Love, man. And in this video, I'm going to present some key points to why Tupac Shakur is alive today and why Tupac had to fake his death. It's a very touching video for me because I was young, but I was there. I remember Tupac's reign uh, to stardom, and I remember how prolific Tupac was, and his impact as a superstar in the world was unmatched. I mean, none of these artists today could. Tupac had that Michael Jackson effect and more because he was essentially an ordained Black Panther, Black Panther family, and he came out as a political rapper. Me Against the World. His approach was political, but after signing Death Row, he started that street thug, party bullshit rap, because his approach had to change on Death Row. But he was a politically charged individual, Tupac Shakur. Anyways, he did it. He faked his death to escape pressures of gang violence, and basically gang violence, and to escape the pressure of fame. Because with fame, he became targeted, and wherever he went, he was constantly attacked, misconstrued, and his life was a big headache. So to escape gang violence, enemies, and to escape fame, Tupac Shakur essentially became sick and tired of that type of energy and knew it was time to escape, disappear. Tupac Shakur spent months in prison for allegedly raping somebody. The female who screamed rape was the same female who gave him fellatio on the dance floor. He took the same woman to a hotel room after doing that on the dance floor with witnesses to the hotel room, and she screamed rape. So the FBI, because I believe they knew Tupac was a Black Panther, they knew his influence on the world. Only way to destroy him was to destroy his character. So they knew that a rape case would diminish all of Tupac's hard work and credibility. So while in prison in New York, Tupac read the book called The Prince. It's about Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolo Machiavelli was a diplomat, philosopher, and Tupac read all his books, and The Art of War, Persuasion, how to deal with your enemies, and the law, basically rules of life in a militant mindset. So after Tupac was bailed out by Death Row, he essentially signed a deal with the devil, because Death Row locked him in. They got Tupac for nothing. But at that point, Universal, whoever co-signed Tupac, was unwilling to bail him out. He had no one to bail him out. Here comes Suge Knight, and he took advantage of the situation. So he left prison and changed his name to a new alias, changed his name to Machiavelli. That's how the book called The Prince affected Tupac. He changed his name from Tupac Shakur to Machiavelli, and because he understood through the book what he had to do, and it was pretty strange how Tupac supposedly died. When Biggie died, Bronx Net Channel, his funeral was on TV. Everyone saw his body. It was a big event. Tupac died, the most prolific rapper of all time, at that time, of all time. He was major. Madonna, Michael Jackson, everyone, bowed down to Tupac. Like, he was prolific everywhere, every magazine, every news. Tupac was big time. No funeral, nothing. It was a rapid death. His body was apparently cremated, thrown out to sea. His blood cousins, his outlaws, Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, Mussolini, Idi Amin, Castro, they apparently rolled a blunt of Tupac's ashes and smoked his ashes the day of his funeral, as his other ashes were thrown to sea. That's apparently what happened. The cremator of Tupac's body, the cremator, apparently disappeared. They retired right after cremating Pac's body. The cremator disappeared. This is on record. Very strange, strange occurrences and events. I took down some notes. I didn't want to miss anything. The gang member, Orlando, who apparently killed Tupac, was murdered right after Tupac's death. He was never convicted. He never saw trial. Orlando was murdered. So that became unresolved mystery. The question is, why did Tupac fake his death? I mean, the media, they wouldn't let Tupac live. I mean, it was constantly misinterpreted, constantly accused, and attacked by the media, constantly. I remember that. I was young, but I remember he was constantly being attacked by the media. Number two, the contract he signed with Death Row was a 360 deal. Tupac was broke. They were not paying him anything, but making millions upon millions of dollars on Tupac's music. So the contract wasn't lucrative for Tupac. And through Death Row, Jimmy Iovine, he knew that, Tupac was so great. Death Row, Jimmy Iovine, Universal, Suge Knight didn't care if Dre left, didn't care if Snoop left. All they cared about is retaining Tupac. That's how much money he made them. As long as they had Pac, they knew they had millions. And Tupac knew that he could never leave Death Row alive because he was their cash cow. He knew this. So this is the second reason why Tupac had to fake his death, because he knew he couldn't leave the Death Row contract. Even if he fulfilled his contract with the albums they wanted, he knew they wouldn't let him leave, alive. Three, he was an ordained Black Panther, Tupac, and he used to attend Black Panther meetings across the country with his mother religiously. And FBI knew his influence on people and society. So the FBI are watching him closely, like his godmother, Tupac Shakur, his uncle. A lot of his family members were in prison. FBI knew that Tupac Shakur was a Panther, and they knew his influence. Tupac was about bringing people together. And he wanted minorities, he wanted blacks to prosper. And he wanted to create independent, celebrity stardom, independent, labels, independent black entrepreneurship. Tupac, towards the end of his career, there's videotape of him talking about this. And out of prison, after Death Row signed him, he got his freedom out of prison. Tupac knew it was time for him to disappear. And his goal was to leave to record and do as much work as possible so that his memory, his legacy, and his revenue would live and last forever. That was Tupac's goal in prison. I'm going to come out, create archives, a large volume of work to where my legacy will be here forever. But listen, this is a really important part. Before Tupac died, he established his own record label, Machiavelli Records, that him and his mother and his outlaw cousins owned. It was under Universal. that him and his mother, again, his outlaw cousins, his blood cousins, owned. Tupac knew that dead artists make the most money. Elvis Presley. Tupac knew this. And, staring at the world through my rear view, understand my plot to get richer, much more than 6 figures. A mother made nigga. Like he knew that staring at the world through my rear view, looking at the world from behind us, niggas know what they got to do. He knew he had to make money and disappear as a dead artist making multi-millions. Tupac had this planned out. See, in his Machiavelli albums, he told us what he would do. And it all came to pass, staring at the world through my rear view, he blatantly told the world what his plan was. And it came to fruition, as we all know it did. Tupac's escape, at the in Las Vegas, at the grand scene when it happened. CCTV, there are conspiracies about a double. He used a stunt double to disappear while there was a second person that looked like him. There's rumors that CCTV, that there's footage of Tupac using a double. But deeper than that, Assata Shakur, a civil rights activist, Black Panther. Assata Shakur is on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. This is Tupac's godmother. Check this out. This is Tupac's godmother. She was an activist convicted of murdering a state trooper and of 7 felonies. Her defense argued that there was no medical evidence. With Black Panther ties, mind you, Assata was put in prison for killing a state trooper. With Black Panther ties, she ended up breaking out of a New Jersey prison. This is the 80s. Assata Shakur and her Black Panther clique ties network managed to break out of prison, and she fled to Cuba, where she was granted political asylum in 1984 and has remained in Cuba ever since. Assata is on FBI's list most wanted, top 10. Assata Shakur. As a Black Panther, Tupac Shakur, he had these connections. His mother, family members, were Panthers, and just like his godmother, Assata Shakur, he had the right resources to disappear. Okay? But with the mass songs recorded to his label, Machiavelli Records, okay, Machiavelli, the logo is a cross behind Tupac's back. Machiavelli Records. With mass songs recorded to his label, in his demise, while fooling his enemies, faking his death, fooling his enemies. He knew he would capitalize and make millions in his demise. It's genius. Think about it. This is his plan. Much more than 6 figures. A made nigga. This was Tupac's plan. It's genius, and Tupac's real name, a lot of people don't know Tupac's real name. Lucene Parish Crooks. That's Tupac's real name. Don't listen to me. Look it up. Lucene Parish Crooks. That's Tupac's real name. That's his government name. In the book of Machiavelli advocated faking your death at 25, then returning 18 years later. That's probably the legal time where you can come back and not get, charged in prison for faking your death. Well, it's been 25 years since Tupac died, and he probably is still in hiding because his adversaries, aka his enemies, are still living. His enemies are still living. So Tupac's in he's in exile. He's in he's hiding out in Cuba with his mother, his godmother, Sata Shakur. And is making his cousins, his living outlaws, are taking care of the money while he's in exile. So that's why Tupac's alive. I just explained to you his reasons for faking his death, how he would fake his death, and the circumstances that led to him faking his death. He was in a deadlock contract that he couldn't escape. The world was after him, and he couldn't attain any kind of peace while living. So he did what he had to do, had months in prison to plan for it. And Niccolo Machiavelli's book, The Prince, really transformed Tupac's life and made him equipped to pull off probably the most profound schemes ever in history. So those are my thoughts, guys. I'd love to hear your feedback. God bless the dead. Much love to Tupac. We miss you. I remember your impact. I still listen to music to this day. I remember your impact on the world, how prolific you were as an artist. Wow, nothing comes close to Tupac. If you were here when he was living and felt his impact, you'd agree with me. But as always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Please, let me hear your thoughts, man. Don't believe what I said. Google what I said. This stuff the facts are there. So please don't, instead of challenging my points, look it up. Look it up. Look at my facts and take a minute to fall back and think. All right, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace. One love. Baby, this I know. Every club I go. Baby, this I know. Every club